7 seasons have passed from probably the most popular show from the CW's Arrowverse, and that is The Flash, and we've been introduced to many characters throughout the series. However, not all of them came close to our heart, thus today we're going to talk about some of the most loved and most hated characters of the show, according to the fandom, and without further ado, let's dive right in. Starting off our list with the top 5 most hated characters of The Flash, before we continue with the ones the fans love the most, enjoy. Number 5. Hunter Zolomon, Zoom. The primary antagonist of the second season of the show was Hunter Zolomon, also known as Zoom, a speedster who proved to be a massive problem for Team Flash and in the eyes of the fans, and this coming from a villain who came after Tom Cavanagh's Reverse Flash is a huge feat on its own. To be fair, Zoom was a captivating and little bit over-the-top villain when he was in his costume, and the exact opposite when he was Hunter Zolomon in the flesh. The show seems like they copy-pasted results of the first season in the second. The good guy who knows everything was actually the bad guy all along, making him one of the most hated characters in the series. Number 4. Jessie Quick. Sorry to put her here, but Jessie was simply very annoying. Like, what was the point of her? At first, all the sympathy was on her, and to no fault of her own, she was captured by Zoom to encourage her father to steal Flash's speed. And once she was rescued by Team Flash, she stayed on Earth 1 and formed a relationship with Wally West, which seemed very forced and was lacking in chemistry. Especially how she broke up with Wally over a text message, which was very bad on its own, right? Thus reserving a spot on our list at the right spot. Don't you agree?
Hey, thought you could use a little help. I got this. You go take care of her.
Number 3. GRODD. Many fans loved the depiction of the giant gorilla in the Arrowverse, but it seemed like the episode when he was on the big screen dropped in quality. Despite the CGI being quite impressive, GRODD always came across very convincing in his movements. He was supposed to be more intelligent than what the series depicted him and a more significant threat to Flash. And why is it that he can't grasp how to use verbs, or the first-person side of things while we're here? The show made him a threat that has the linguistic ability of a 2-year-old, and a character like that cannot be taken seriously, to be honest with you.
No.
You need to let him go, Grodd.
Flash is my enemy. Now you too.
No!
Number 2. SAVITAR. Even with SAVITAR reserving the second place of the most hated characters of the series, it's not entirely his fault. He was the villain the third season of the show, and the third speedster Barry has faced, and by this point we think we're all tired of watching Barry run around for a bit, and then a bit more, and then do something quick to save the day. The season needed a different take on the villain side of things, but it seemed like it was too late. As an antagonist, SAVITAR worked very well in the story, however the revelation of the whole story saw him getting more and more hate thrown at him, which happened after he killed Iris and made Barry into a whiny, moody child for the rest of the season, which no one found that much engaging.
You will pay for what you did, and you can die the same way twice.
Number 1. CICADA, the original. We can all agree that the 5th season of the show was not the strongest one, right? There were too many storylines which needed a long time to be played out, and the resolutions for those storylines were nothing special. And as a cherry on top, the villains of that season were just not that interesting. CICADA, or Orlin Dwyer, had a lame voice. Yes, not all villains have to sound gravely and scary, but his was just plainly lame. He was not compelling enough to be the big baddie as the series promoted him, and he wanted to kill all metahumans because one of them was responsible for his niece's coma. Not original at all. Now that we've taken care of the most hated characters of the series, let's continue with the ones we all love and want to see on the big screen, the top 5 most loved characters in the series. Let's go! Number 5. Iris West Allen. Starting off with Iris, who by no means is a bad character, but some fans of the series didn't like her, thus putting her on the 5th spot of the most loved characters of the show. One of the reasons might be that she didn't have any solo storylines so far, no matter how much she deserved it. Not having a proper shine can make someone not developed as a character the way they should be. He can sometimes come as a strict character and not easy to understand when the emotions of other people around Iris are at stake. With that said, there's no denying that she means well, as she has a good heart and wants to always be there for her friends and family.
I'm tired of wondering. Let's start a family.
I love that impulse.
Number 4. Caitlin Snow. Caitlin has to be one of the characters who suffered the most in the series. She lost her husband Ronnie twice, and her boyfriend turned out to be a psychopathic speedster. Her dad died, and she had to deal with the fact that she had ice powers and turned into Killer Frost. A lot to bear on her part. However, despite all that, she managed to stay good in nature and to always be there for her friends whenever they needed her. She still manages to smile and make people smile, which is a miracle when everything that happened to her in the past is taken into consideration.
Look what I liberated from one of the transport guards.
Ice Bandit, what is it?
I don't know. But it was on Abracadabra when they took him down. Maybe it has something to do with the obelisk?
Number 3. CISCO Ramon. The vital member of the team is CISCO Ramon. He's also Barry's closest friend right from the start. He's also a person on whom you can rely on at any given moment, and the only downside to his character seems to be that he falls into despair, putting everything on his shoulders and takes him a while to pull himself out of it. However, this is probably something fans were able to relate to and sympathize with, making him one of the most loved characters in the show, especially since his life hasn't been all that easy.
I have to leave Central City.
Thank God.
Are you kidding me?
Number 2. Joe West. It's hard to dislike Joe, the father figure to us all. He is simply one of the best, if not the best character in the series. Not everybody would take in a child whose mother has been murdered and dad ended up in prison, but he did it. He's a great detective and an even greater father to his kids, always having very good and kind advice to tell them. Always working hard to protect his city from criminals and metahumans alike, and always making time for his loved ones, doing all this without having any special powers at all.
I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And I called you crazy for chasing the impossible.
Number 1. Barry Allen. And last but not the least, Barry, who could it have been? He's by far the most sympathetic and lovable character, and the fans were easy to agree with this. Being the focal point, fans were easy to understand where he's coming from. Yes, he has some faults and flaws and makes errors in judgment, but they're minor ones which cannot nearly compare to all the good things he has done throughout the series. He always wants to do good, which has been supported by his optimistic nature. He wears his heart on his sleeve, making it impossible to not like him the most out of all characters in the show. There's just something about him that will not let you stay mad at him for more than a minute, no matter the cause, deserving the number 1 spot on our list as the most loved character of the series.
But I want you in it, every hour, every minute.
On a related note, tell us down in the comments who are your most hated and most loved characters of the series, and why. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.